The Frog Prince. The Frog Prince, or Iron Henry German, der Froschkönig oder der eiserne Heinrich, literally the Frog King or the Iron Henry, is a German fairy tale collected by the Brothers Grimm and published in 1812 in Grimm's Fairy Tales KHM1. Traditionally, it is the first story in their folktale collection. The tale is classified as Aarne-Thompson, type 440. Origin. Editions. The story is best known through the rendition of the Brothers Grimms, who published it in their 1812 edition of Kinder und Hausmärchen Grimm's Fairy Tales as Tale No. 1. An older, moralistic version was included in the Grimm's handwritten Ohlenberg manuscript from 1810. Jack Sipes noted in 2016 that the Grimms greatly treasured this tale, considering it to be one of the oldest and most beautiful in German-speaking regions. Plot. In the tale, a spoiled princess reluctantly befriends the Frog Prince, whom she met after dropping a golden ball into a pond under a linden tree, and he retrieves it for her in exchange for her friendship. The Frog Prince, who is under a wicked fairy's spell, magically transforms back into a handsome prince. In the original Grimm version of the story, the frog's spell was broken when the princess threw the frog against the wall, at which he transformed back into a prince, while in modern versions the transformation is triggered by the princess kissing the frog. In other early versions, it was sufficient for the frog to spend the night on the princess' pillow. The Frog Prince also has a loyal servant named Henry or Harry, who had 3 iron bands affixed around his heart to prevent it from breaking in his sadness when his master got under a spell. When the Frog Prince reverts to his human form, Henry's overwhelming happiness causes all 3 bands to break, freeing his heart from its bonds. Variants. It is Aarne-Thompson, type 440. Other folktales, similar to the Frog Prince, are The Frog Prince, the first English translation of the above tale. Edgar Taylor, the translator, not only changed the title, but altered the ending in a substantial and interesting manner. The Wonderful Frog, W. Henry Jones and Louise L. Kropp, Hungary. The Tale of the Queen Who Sought a Drink from a Certain Well, J. F. Campbell, Scotland. The Well of the World's End. The Padda Robert Chambers, Scotland. The Maiden and the Frog, James Orchard Halliwell Phillips, England. Oder und Deutschland, Oder, and the Snake, Ludwig Bechstein, Germany, a variant where a serpent replaces the frog. The Kind Stepdaughter and the Frog, W. Henry Jones and Louise L. Kropp. The Frog Prince, H. Parker, Sri Lanka. A Frog for a Husband, William Elliot Griffiths, Korea. The Toad Bridegroom, Zong in Saab, Korea. A similar tale type is ATU 402, The Animal Bride. In these tales, a female animal, mouse, cat, or frog helps a prince with 3 tasks, and after marrying him, assumes human form. In Padaki, Old Word for Toad, another German folk tale, and likewise Tsarevna Lyagushka, The Frog Princess, a Russian folk tale, the male and female roles of the Frog Prince are reversed. Prince Ivan Tsarevich discovers the enchanted female frog, who becomes Vasilisa the Wise, a sorceress. A possible parallel in antiquity may be found in the story of Amamone, who was one of the Danaids. She went to fetch water in a jug because of a drought season caused by the gods. A satyr tried to force himself on her, but the god Poseidon rescued her. It has been suggested that the amphibian suitor and the handsome prince may have been separate characters at first. In a Latvian tale, Little White Dog, a girl is tasked with getting water from a well without getting the bucket wet. A little white dog appears and promises to help her if she accepts him as her bridegroom. Cultural legacy. Adele Haid-Wet based her 1896 play on The Frog Prince, although she called it The Frog King. The Frog 1908, directed by Segundo de Chaman, is the first film adaptation of The Frog Prince. Marguerite Schweikert based her 1913 children's operetta, The Frog King, on the Grimm brothers' fairytale The Frog Prince. Stevie Smith's poem The Frog Prince 1966 suggests the thoughts of the prince as he waits for disenchantment. The Frog Prince was a 1971 film starring Kermit the Frog, Truddy Young, and Gordon Thompson. And Sexton wrote an adaptation as a poem called The Frog Prince in her collection Transformations 1971, a book in which she re-envisions 16 of the Grimm's fairy tales. Robin McKinley's 1981 collection of short stories The Door in the Hedge contains a version of the tale entitled The Princess and the Frog. The Tale of the Frog Prince was the first story presented by Shelley Duvall's Fairy Tale Theatre in 1982, with Robin Williams as the witty Frog Prince and Turi Garr as the vain princess. The Frog Prince is a 1986 film starring John Paragon and Aileen Quinn. The Frog Prince was one of the fairy tales featured in Grimm's Fairy Tale Classics in its Grimm Masterpiece Theatre, season 1987. The Frog Prince was enacted by Achim Joachim Kaps and Kunibert Hans Joachim Leschnitz in a 1988 episode of Bronkreisel. Linda Medley's graphic novel Castle Waiting from 1996 contains a character named Iron Henry, or Iron Heinrich, who has 3 iron bands around his heart to repair the heartbreak he suffered when his son died of a fearful curse. In the second episode of Adventures from the Book of Virtues 1996, Plato the Bison and Annie try to convince their friend Zack to tell his father the truth by telling him 3 stories, including one about the Frog Prince. In this version, the title character was transformed into a frog for lying to a witch and breaking his promise. He is voiced by Jeff Bennett, while the princess is voiced by Paige O'Hara. Prince Charming is a 2001 film adaptation of the fairy tale, starring Martin Short, Christina Applegate, and Sean Maguire as the title character. The prince is cursed to remain a frog until a maiden breaks his spell, giving him extreme longevity and allowing for the modern setting of the film. In Shrek 2, Fiona's father, King Harold, is secretly the Frog Prince. However, unlike the fairy tale where the princess meets him as a frog and her actions make him human, he becomes human through a deal with the fairy godmother. A musical version of The Frog Prince, written by Dieter Stedman and Alexander S. Bermange, was presented at the Amphitheater Park Schloss Philippsruhe in Hanau, Germany as part of the Brothers Grimm Festival in 2005. French graphic novel Garolfo 1992-2002 is a fairy tale about a frog who asks a witch to transform him into a prince so that he can live life at the top of the food chain. Bill Willingham's graphic novel series Fables features many fairy tale characters living as refugees in New York. A chamber opera for children based upon The Frog Prince, written by Jacob A. Greenberg for Brown Opera Productions and the Providence Athenaeum, was performed in 2008. The tale was adapted for German television as one of the episodes of fairy tale series Sechs auf einen Streichen 6 at one blow in the 2008 season. The Princess and the Frog, a 2009 Disney animated film, is loosely based on the 2002 novel The Frog Princess by E.D. Baker. The film starred Annika Nanai Rose and Bruno Campos and was directed by Ron Clements and John Musker. The Frog Prince story itself is mentioned several times in the film, being read to Princess Tana as a child and inspiring the spoiled Prince Naveen, who has been transformed into a frog to suggest Tana kiss him to break his spell. However, the kiss fails, turning her into a frog as well. Hidden object game series Dark Parables used the tale as basis for its second installment, The Exiled Prince. Robert Coover wrote a reimagined version of the tale for The New Yorker in 2014. The Children's Theatre of Cincinnati's Script Development Division adapted the one-act musical Princess and Frog in 2020. The stage musical is adapted from the full-length musical Croaker written by Jason Marks and Deborah Clinton. The English alternative rock band Keane released a song titled The Frog Prince within their 2004 UK #1 album Under the Iron Sea.